Shalom, 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 family. We're the Sons of Zion Israelites, Houston Camp, coming to you with another video for your edification. Welcome to Faith by Works, right? Where we study a commandment week in and week out to further perfect our walk with the Most High God, right? Title of today's class is what? Never Trust Thine Enemy, Part 2. We'll be picking up from the last video we did the week before last after the break, right? So just giving a little recap, right? On the week before last, we went over the different ways we trust in our enemy. First, we identified who our enemy was, and that is the heathen, everybody outside the house of Israel, outside of the 12 tribes that are scattered abroad. We understand that our enemies are the ones that scattered us, right? And has formulated, right, a confederate against us, have worked together hand in hand to further separate us from our God. And what are we doing? Throughout history, throughout the biblical accounts, we have trusted in these individuals, right? Each and every one of them in many different forms. And the week before last, we highlighted all of the different ways in accordance to the major captivities, as well as Brother Casadia brought out a phenomenal article touching upon, present day events on how, when we continue to trust in our enemy, right, we continue to make we just continue to, make mockery of ourselves, to destroy ourselves, to make ourselves look stupid because they have a agenda, all right, to destroy us. And he highlighted the recent order that has been brought out by President Trump in regards of how, it is illegal to be homeless, basically, to sleep out in the streets. And this is who we're trusting in. We're trusting in this country and its ways. Well, we're going to give a continuation of that through the Spirit, Lord willing. Shouldn't be a long class, but we're going to go ahead and finish up the series, right? So the week before last, I keep saying last week we took a break. Week before last, right? I highlighted a couple major captivities, and those captivities were the first two, right? The Egyptian Empire and how we trusted in them and their oppression, according to biblical account. We highlighted the Assyrian Empire, all right? In the reign of King Hezekiah, right, in 2 Kings 18. And today, Lord willing, we're going to highlight the Babylonian Empire, the Persian Empire, and the Greek Empire, as well as the Roman Empire, and how we trusted in our enemy in each one of those captivities. And then, my brother Casadia is going to bring out another order on how we trust in today's captivity. All right, we have to stop trusting in our oppressors. We have to stop trusting in these people who have strategically come up with ways to separate us from our God. Ultimately, all of these heathens, they imitate our God. We have to understand that we have the true power. Okay, we're on the winning team. And a lot of time we're heavily invested into the losing team, and we got to get away from that. All right, we make ourselves look stupid. All right, and we always will be unsuccessful in doing so. Right. So let's go ahead with the opening precepts. This is the book of Psalm, chapter 150 and verse 6. It says, "Let everything that hath breath praise the Lord, praise ye the Lord." Right. That's why in the Paleo Hebrew we say, "Call Halal Yahweh by Hashem or Malak Yahweh." That's giving all honor and glory to who the world calls God by way of his son, who the world only calls Jesus Christ. Everything that we do, we prophesy with our lips, and everything that we put our hand to plow, right, is to glorify the Lord. This is the book of James, chapter 2 and verse 14. It says, "What does it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and have not works? Can faith save him?" So simply saying with your lips, all right, simply, expressing, right, to another individual, "I love God. I have a relationship with him. I believe him." Is that enough? Well, verse 17 says what? "Even so, faith, if it have not works, is dead being alone. Ye, a man say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works." So we show our faith, our love, our belief, and our great reverence unto the Most High God by our works. Okay, the things that we do, we have to prove our love for him. We have to prove our faith for him. All right. First John chapter 3 and verse 18 says, my little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. Very plainly put. So what's the deed? Is never trusting in thine enemy. It's a law. All right. So let's go ahead and refresh that law, right? The commandment of last class and today's class. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. All right. So it's inevitable. All right. These heathens, all right, from Moab to Elam to Ammon to Ishmael to the Edomites, all right, to Ham, so on and so forth. All of their wickedness is inevitable. All right, last night, right, during camp, we seen the inevitable wickedness of Ham, right? The pride, the arrogancy, all right, the throwing out of his PhD, if that means anything, right? Because when we look at First Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 19, we understand through the Spirit, let's bring it out mighty, right? You got it, King. I'm gonna go ahead and yield there. You can go ahead and pick up and bring out your order, bring out your article.
Khan. Hey, mighty opening first and foremost. Hey, Salaki Israel, for our absence last week, we took a little break with the observance of the new moon. But we right back at it to pick it up. Before we get back to where we were the last time, I know we had the executive order. I wanted to bring this out because the brother was bringing out a bunch of points and a bunch of accounts throughout past captivities, right? One thing we have to always keep in mind, we can't look at these things and say, hey, that was a long time ago. That's not going to happen again. We can't look at these things and say, hey, that was in the past. We need to get over it. No, that's the exact mindset that our enemy wants us in, right? So let's get the classic, the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1 and verse 9. It says, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun, right? The Most High is very plain. All of those captivities, all of those things that happen to our people at the hand of our enemies, those things are going to come back around. And even worse, because what the Lord say, that day of trouble, Jacob's trouble, is going to be like a time like no other, right? And we know our history, shoot, just here in this country, the things that they put us through, right? The Lord is telling us that we're going to go through something even far greater than that. So we always have to stay on our pivot, right? And we out here blowing our trumpet, right? Just to harken back to a series that Lord willing will come back soon, right? Verse 10, it says, is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It had already been of old time, which was before us, right? So with that being said, right, never trust thine enemy, right? We have to understand that our enemies, they watch us, right? They watch us and they watch us with what they call it, the green eyes of envy. Because what? Because we are the chosen people of the Most High God, right? We bring out Deuteronomy 7:6 all the time on the highways and hedges, right? First Chronicles 16 and 13, right? Or 13 and 16. I think I'm butchering that. We bring it out all the time. We are the chosen people of the Most High God, right? And these people, they see that and they want what we have, right? So they look at us and they think to themselves, what? It's the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. We'll start at verse 10. It says, let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the age, right? And that harkens back to what we brought out last week. I'm going to pull it up and share my screen. Boom. Ending crime and disorder on American streets, right? So the executive order that was signed July 24th of this year, right? And we kind of went through it, and I pray brothers and sisters look throughout it and took the time to educate themselves, right? Well, basically what it's doing, what Donald Trump is doing, what ultimately Esau Edom is doing, right, is he's criminalizing the very idea of homelessness, right? When you go out in any major city in America, right, a lot of our people, they still enjoy a so-called nightlife, right? Where they get around just going through their day to day, if they go to work or if they go to school or whatever, right? You always see homelessness. You see it everywhere. If you live in LA, you know about Skid Row, right? If you live in Houston, you know about the downtown, well, we used to be called Minute Maid Park area, right? You see homelessness at an alarming rate, and it's only getting worse as the economy gets bad. People are losing jobs, not able to find jobs. Wages are not keeping up at all with the rate of inflation, right? Homelessness is it's on the increase. But who's the vast majority? Who makes up the bulk of the homeless population? People that look like you and me, right? The children of the Most High God, right? So they're already oppressed. So now you're telling me that it's a good idea to go ahead and criminalize that? And then they can say whatever they want. They can say, oh, these people are strung out on drugs or they have mental issues and that's true in a lot of cases. However, what about the cases when it's not true? What's stopping Esau Edom from snatching up all the way mentally put together person that's homeless? It's not like somebody's going to call and check on them. Not like somebody's going to call and say, hey, where is so-and-so? Hey, I know that person's in their right mind. They're not on any type of drugs. They're just down on their luck financially. Nobody's going to call for them. And Esau knows this, right? These people, real quick, that just reminded me of a precept. These people say what they want in order to make the public feel good about their actions. But in all actuality, they have a way more malicious intent in their heart, right? It's the book of Psalm chapter 55 and verse 21. It says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. It sounds real good. Hey, we're going to clean up the streets, man. All of these drug addicts and mentally ill people, we're gonna pick them up and they're not going to be a burden to you anymore. But what about all the other people? We're not saying anything about those people. Nobody's asking about those people. They say when you become homeless for a period of time, it's like you become forgotten. Society has moved on from you. You don't exist anymore. Right? It says his words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Right? And we're going to get into another thing, which it goes by the name of the King Alfred plan, but that's not an official name, right? The reason it was given that name is because of it comes out of a book, first and foremost, and it was also a famous song by Gil Scott-Heron, right? That went by the name King Alfred Plan. So obviously Esau calls it something different, but it goes into their plan to, one, beef up law enforcement in order to round up Israelites and either put them in the camps where they have you concentrate or kill you altogether. We're going to get into all of that, right? But here, let's get back to Wisdom of Solomon. Verse 2 and chapter 2 and verse 11. It says, let our strength be the law of justice, right? And we know these devils, right? They frame mischief by law. That's why we bring out these executive orders, right? It says, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. Therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn. And that's the point that I wanted right there, right? These people, they see us and they know that we are the Lord's chosen people, right? And they know the promises that the Lord has made to his chosen people, right? And they understand that the longer that we are in sin and have our back faced towards the Most High God, the longer he has his back towards us. and they get to rule over us with all types of rigor and all types of malice, right? It says, and he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraided us with our offending the law and objected to our infamy, the transgressions of our education. He professes to have the knowledge of God, and he calleth himself the child of the Lord. He was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grievous unto us, even to behold, for his life is not like other men's. His ways are of another fashion. We are esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. He pronounceth the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh the boast that God is his father, right? And this is why these people hate us, right? Because, yeah, the Most High God is our father. We are his chosen people, right? He gave us a law, statutes, and commandments to live by, which puts us above everybody else, right? And they know this and they don't like this, right? So they do everything in their power in order to keep us low, right? And when it even seems that we're getting ready to come out of this lower state through repentance, right, and turning back to the Most High God, right? Well, they put all of these so-called executive orders in place, right? So this was the one from last week, and I'm gonna pull it back up so that hopefully brothers and sisters can search it. Don't know what I did. So that hopefully brothers and sisters can search it and look into it themselves, right? It's called Ending Crime and Disorder on American Streets, right? With that, I yield.
King, mighty points. It's funny that you said that they make up the laws and everything, right? And they serve us unjustly. You know what I mean? That's actually crazy you said that, because when we highlight what is that? Let me see. When we highlight the Persian Empire as one of the major captivities, we understand that Mesopotamia actually created the grounds of law and order that we follow today. So I'm gonna touch on that later on. But first, I want to hop into the next major captivity, right, which is the Babylonian captivity ruled by Nebuchadnezzar. Right, let's get there real quick. This is the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 36, and verse number 5. It says, Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord his God. Against him came up Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and bound him in fetters to carry him to Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar also carried of the vessels of the house of the Lord to Babylon and put them in his temple at Babylon, right? So Nebuchadnezzar takes the vessels of the Lord and puts it into his kingdom, right? And Jehoiakim, who reigned, all right, of 25 years of age for 11 years, he did evil. So in the result of it, we had to go into the Babylonian captivity, where Nebuchadnezzar took over. So when we actually look up the history in that regard, real quick, share my screen. Let's get this real quick, right? So when we actually go on Google and we type in Babylonian gods and Nebuchadnezzar and how they tie in, right, we get this Nebuchadnezzar II, right? So the next generation of this king here in the biblical text, it says, was a king who promoted the supremacy of the Babylonian god Marduk and built the Ishtar Gate, a monumental structure depicting Babylonian deities like Ishtar, represented by lions, right? Those are the statues that you see when looking up the historical, artifacts or whatever, and the actual monuments in accordance to the empire. It says also Adad was represented by bulls, and Marduk represented by dragons. He believed the gods helped him rule, so he built many temples, including the principal temple of Marduk. That's where he took our vessels and put it into his kingdom to honor them and ensure their favor. Nebuchadnezzar's reign was the zenith of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, though his pride and his achievements later led to a period of insanity. So we have to understand that, hey, this is another heathen that has, taken things by blood, right? And established, a time period and was under servitude where the Most High God allowed him, right, to rule over us. All right. Um, let's see. When you scroll down, Nebuchadnezzar's pride and relationship with the gods, right? The building for the gods, right? All stolen. Nebuchadnezzar became proud during his reign, believing his success and the empire's power were due to his own might and wisdom rather than the help of the gods. So you see how his pride, right, led to his destruction, right? Going forward, we actually learned that direct Mesopotamian practices are not widely followed in the United States today. However, when we look at some of the practices, they actually contradict themselves, right? It says right here, mathematics and timekeeping. It says, look, check this out. The base 60 system. It says the ancient Sumerian system based on the number 60 still shapes how we measure time and angles. Its use by the Babylonians for astronomical calculations influenced later cultures, right? So you got 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, and 360 degrees in a circle, right? That came from Mesopotamian culture, right? That's how they established it. But we understand, according to the Bible, something completely different. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 44 and verse 6. Thus saith the Lord, the King of Israel, and his Redeemer of the Lord of hosts, talking about Christ, I am the first and I am the last. And besides me, there is no God. So there is no Marduk. There is no Ishtar, all right? That's besides the Lord and the keeping of the times and measuring of the times. We understand that the Lord is the beginning and the end. Revelation 1 verse 8 says, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, said the Lord, which is and which was and which is to come, the Almighty. Simply put, let me get one more, right? When we go to the book of 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 8, it says, but beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. So the Most High God is a keeper of the times. And what we see as 1,000 years, it's like a second unto him. And he measures what we do in a day, same as how we would think of 1,000 years. So we have to really pay attention to what we do, how we conduct ourselves as children of the Most High God. And we have to understand that he's waiting on us. We're not waiting on him. You understand? So uh, uh, he is the keeper of the times, not Mesopotamia, not, those of what? The Babylonian Empire. I guess I'll go ahead and yield there. We'll pick up with the Persian Empire next. You got it, King.
Hey, mighty points. Hey, I thought it was funny when it said that period of his, well, due to his pride, it was a period of what, insanity.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right there in Daniel chapter 4.
Well, we
Right.
trust in this. We trusted in this individual, man, and that's
Legit.
why we actually went into captivity under him.
Legit. Hey, you see that account of Daniel chapter 4? Hey, the Lord gave him the heart of a beast, and he was out there in the fields on his belly eating grass like oxen.
That's right. That's right.
What we got to understand is what. Here, let me get it real quick. Book of Proverbs. Chapter 21 and verse 1. Hold on, Salakia King. I hear crying. Hold on. Be right back.
Daddy Dewey. Israel, as we bear with brother before he make his points, right? Just to give you a heads up, the next major captivity following the Babylonian captivity is the Persian captivity, where we were in servitude of King Cyrus. All right. When you go to the book of Second Chronicles, chapter 36 and verse 19, it reads, "They set fire to God's temple and broke down the wall of Jerusalem. They burned all the palaces and destroyed everything of value there. He carried into exile to Babylon the remnant who escaped from the sword, and they became servants to him and his successors until the king of Persia came to power." So the Persian Empire is next. Just giving you a heads up. Jot that down, and you back. Everything good?
His little cartoon had paused. He was
Yeah.
doing a fit. I thought he fell or something. I was like, oh goodness.
Them Saturday morning cartoons with some cereal was major when it was coming up. I understand. You had to
Man,
get that right. You got it, King.
I got the little thing now. It say if it's been on for a little while, it'll stop and ask you if you're still watching. And that's what happened. So nah, he good. But yeah, the point I'm getting ready to make, just let me back it off the brother's point. What we have to understand is, right, yeah, though we're the Lord's chosen people, right? Though we're his favorite, he works through us, right? He puts his words in our mouth and in our hearts, right? At the end of the day, he's in control of all of this, right? Even the heathens, right? Even the people that he has set up to be lords over us, right? This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 21 and verse 1. It says, "The king's heart is in the hand of the Most High. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will," right? So just how it talked about the pride of Nebuchadnezzar, right? How it led him to a period of insanity, right? Well, the Lord did that. And you read all about that in Daniel chapter 4. The Lord told him he was going to do that. And right after he told him he was going to do that, he did that, right? So something we have to always understand. If the Lord is controlling these people and he tells us not to trust these people, right? Who are we to go against that? That's foolishness. That's the definition of foolishness, right? That's like I invented something that electrocutes something that'll electrocute you as soon as you touch it, right? I invented it. I invented it for this purpose. Anybody that touches is gonna get electrocuted, right? And I tell you, hey, don't touch this because surely you're gonna get electrocuted, right? You will be a plumb fool to say, you know what? I'm gonna touch it. You would be an idiot, right? You would have to be a plumb fool, right? And just like we brought out, right, the commandment for the week, Sirach chapter 12. I want to read on that just a little bit. Read on that a little bit more. Sirach chapter 12, starting at verse 10. It says, "Never trust thy enemy, for as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust had not been altogether wiped away." Right? This is the Lord telling us, right? Hey, it's inevitable that these people are going to be wicked, right? And when we know that, they're going to see that we know that, right? And that indignation that they're going to have towards us will be that same indignation that we read about in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2, right? And it's going to make them uncomfortable, right? Verse 12, it says, "Set him not by thee, lest when he has overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith," right? The brother alluded to this Hamite that we dealt with at camp last night, right? The man literally tried to start a conversation building off a faulty foundation, right? And that foundation that he was trying to build on was saying that the so-called Jewish man was the most oppressed man on the planet. That's BS. That's crap, right? But he's not the only one that feels that way. The whole world feels that way. The whole world feels that the so-called Jewish man is the true chosen people of the Most High God, right? And just like it says here in these scriptures, right? he's going to take our seat. He took our seat. He's overthrown us, and he stands in our place, right? Now he's in our land, right? He has the whole world making obeisance to him, right? Look up obeisance. That's your word of the day, right? And in the meantime, in between time, while they're doing all manner of evil, mind you, this is the synagogue of Satan that Yahweh Shai spoke about in Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. While they're doing all manner of evil, no one can say anything about it, or else they'll get so-called canceled, right, for being so-called anti-Semitic, right? This is the place we've put ourselves in by trusting our enemies, right? So let's look at some of the things that our enemies are doing, right? And here's another executive order. Share my screen. Let me know if you see it, King. Boom.
You good, King?
Con. It
Is
says
that April 28th?
April 28, 2025. So this was what, a couple months older than the last executive order that we brought out, right? It says strengthening and unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue criminals and protect innocent citizens, right? There's a lot of words there, right? And it sounds real good. But again, remember Psalm 55 and 21, right? His words are soft, smoother than butter, but war was in his heart, right? Let's get some definitions of criminals and innocent, right? And real quick, I'm not going to do it how we normally do it, how we like to go to the Merriam-Webster. Merriam-Webster is good stuff. Merriam-Webster is real good stuff, right? Now, instead, I'm going to get it straight from the horse's mouth. Let's see. And by the way, this is fair use. Let me see. Boom. Fair use.
We need, look, and it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. They're taking away your jobs. We'll bring back public safety and defend our communities for law-abiding American citizens.
Turn your volume up.
So he said law-abiding American citizens, right? I'm not gonna lie, King. That's as loud as it goes. Let's see. See if I can do something real quick. Yeah, no, that's a lot. It's as loud as it goes, King.
Okay, Khan, because your voice is good, but for some reason that video is super low.
Yeah, it's kind of low on my end too. Let me see. Can you hear anything that he's saying?
It's real low. I can hear him. I can hear the actual, the sound, but it's low.
Con. All right. Well, shoot, I'm gonna let him speak, and then I'm gonna basically just repeat what he says. Then,
Yeah, Khan.
hopefully that'll help. So, here we go. Let's try it.
They're taking away your jobs. We'll bring back public safety and defend our communities for law-abiding American citizens.
He says we're going to bring back public safety and defend our communities for law-abiding American citizens, right? Who is that? Well, he's going to let you know who it is by differentiating from the criminals, right?
We need, look, the crime is most rampant right here and in African American communities.
Did you hear that? He says the crime is most rampant right here. And you see what right here is. He's in Detroit, Michigan. He says the crime is most rampant right here and in African American communities. Straight out his own mouth.
And more people see me and they say, sir, we want protection. We want police to protect us. We don't want to get robbed and mugged and beat up or killed because we want to walk across the street to buy a.
So he's saying more people are coming to him saying we need protection. We don't want to be robbed or mugged and killed just to go, just because we walk across the street to go to the grocery store or something, right? But he's letting you know his definition, right? So let's go back to his executive order. Now that we know his definition, the law-abiding citizens is everybody that's not us, and the criminals are us. So let's get back to his executive order. It says strengthening and unleashing America's law enforcement to pursue Israel and protect everybody else. Right? Boom. Section 1, it says safe communities rely on the backbone and heroism of a tough and well-equipped police force. My administration is steadfastly committed to empowering state and local law enforcement to firmly police dangerous criminal behavior and protect innocent citizens. We know the definition of those words, according to him, right? It says when local leaders demonize law enforcement and impose legal and political handcuffs that make aggressively enforcing the law impossible, crime thrives and innocent citizens and small business owners suffer. What is he talking about? Right? It's clear. The last time this man was in office, what was going on? The George Floyd, quote unquote, riots and protests. Right? He says that local leaders demonize law enforcement because of that. He says that local leaders impose legal and political handcuffs on law enforcement, making aggressively enforcing the law impossible. What is he telling you? He says that the killing of unarmed, quote unquote, African American citizens is what we want. But because of political activism, because of protests, right? Because of and again, this is not an endorsement for Black Lives Matter. I just got to go ahead and say that as a disclaimer, right? But because of things like that, right, we make that impossible for them to do. They want to be able to kill us and get away with it, right? But because they can't kill us and get away with it, well, he says crime thrives and innocent citizens and small business owners suffer. I'm going to jump down real quick. Section 2 says the Attorney General shall take all appropriate action to create a mechanism to provide legal resources and indemnification to law enforcement officers who unjustly incur expenses and liabilities for actions taken during the performance of their official duties to enforce the law. This mechanism shall include the use of private sector pro bono assistance for such law enforcement officers. What is he telling you, right? Hey, when Amber Geiger walked into another man's apartment and shot him dead while he was sitting on the couch eating ice cream, and they gave her 10 years, right? Well, with this in place, there will be no more Amber Geigers. She's going to get protected. When the cop that shot and murdered young Tamir Rice got his slap on the wrist, because all they get is slaps on the wrist. Well, he's going to be protected. All of these so-called white police officers who kill our people, and they get these, again, slap on the wrist. They act like they really getting punished for real. Well, they're going to be protected so that they don't have to go through that stuff anymore. They don't have to go through being castigated in the court of public opinion anymore. They don't have to go through paid leave anymore. This is what he's doing, right? Section 3, empowering state and local law enforcement, the Attorney General, and other appropriate heads of executive departments and agencies shall take all appropriate action to maximize the use of federal resources to provide new best practices to state and local law enforcement to aggressively police communities against all crimes, right? He's letting you know, hey, a knee on the neck ain't nothing. Choking you out for selling Lucy's ain't nothing. Number 2, expand access and improve the quality of training available to state and local law enforcement. Increase pay and benefits for law enforcement officers. Strengthen and expand legal protections for law enforcement officers. Seek enhanced citizens for crimes against law enforcement officers. Promote investment in the security and capacity of prisons, and increase the investment in and collection, distribution, and uniformity of crime data across jurisdictions. B, within 60 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General shall review all ongoing federal consent decrees, out-of-court agreements, and post-judgment orders to which a state or local law enforcement agency is a party, and modify, rescind, or move to conclude such measures that unduly impede the performance of law enforcement functions, right? What does that mean, right? The man that killed George Floyd, I forget his name, right? It says within 60 days of this order, and we saw the date up top, April 28th, right? So you got what, May 28th is 30 days, June 28th, 60 days, right? So effective right now, he's going to be afforded protection for his action, which took an unarmed man's life. I want y'all to really think about that, right? They're making it legal to hunt us. But we should not be surprised by that. 1, because the Lord told us never trust our enemy. 2, it's the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 12. It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time, right? This is what that looks like. Just like Pharaoh, after the children of Israel were there for 400 years, the Pharaoh that knew not Joseph, right? Just how he wanted to deal wisely with the children of Israel because he saw that they were more and mightier than him. This is literally what we're seeing drum up again right now. Like Ecclesiastes 1:9 says, there's nothing new under the sun. Right? I'm gonna yield right there.
Very true, King. What he was alluding to, Israel, was that time during the Egyptian Empire where they were forcing the Hebrew women to, to give up every son, every man child of Israel, so that they may be slaughtered, right? To establish and to enforce population control, and that's exactly what's being done now, and also through Planned Parenthood, but that's a rabbit hole, that's a conversation for another day, right? Jumping back to it, right? So I said the next major captivity, was the Persians, right? This is the book of Ezra, chapter 1 from the top. It says, now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled. The Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, thus says Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord God of heaven hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he had charged me to build him a house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah, right? So now we have the ruling of Cyrus, king of Persia, right? Just like now, right? What Brother Kasadi was bringing out, right? We have what? Donald Trump. It's the same thing. Brother was bringing out Ecclesiastes 1 and 9, right? Same thing. There's no new thing underneath the sun. The brother is bringing you current events, world order, right? What's happening today. And I'm giving you historical accounts to further promote you to always remember, hey, look, never trust in thine enemy. You understand what I'm saying? Always trust in what? The Most High God. Okay? This is the book of Psalm chapter 34 and verse 15. It says, the eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry. The face of the Lord is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth, and deliver them out of all their troubles. The Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord deliver him out of them all. He keepeth all his bones, not one of them is broken. Evil shall slay the wicked, and they that hate the righteous shall be desolate. The Lord redeemeth the soul of his servants, and none of them that trust in him shall be desolate. So we have to understand that trusting in the Most High God, hey, the Most High God has never broken his promises. So the more we trust in him, hey, the more secure we are. And just like us today, we had Jake back in the day, hey, always in fear, always looking for, an alternative God to serve, because they lack of confidence in the Most High God of Israel was not there, right? Let's actually get that, right? So when we actually look up, right, the Persian mythology and empire, I'll share my screen. Oh, look. So when we actually Google it and look up the 12 gods of Persian mythology, we understand and we see that, hey, look, it's an Iranian religion. It says ancient Persian mythology is the term now referencing ancient Iranian religion prior to the rise of Zoroastrianism between 1500 and 1000 BCE. It says this was a polytheistic, right? So a multiple God, all right, faith with a a pantheon led by the supreme God of Ahura Mazda, Lord of wisdom. Oh, now hold up. We have the God of wisdom, right? Let's go real quick to the book of Sirach, chapter 1, from the top. It says what? All wisdom coming from the Lord, not Asda, whatever your name is. It says all wisdom coming from the Lord, and is with him forever. Who can number the sand of the sea and the drops of rain in the days of eternity? Who can find out the height of heaven and the breadth of the earth and the deep and the wisdom? Wisdom hath been created before all things, and the understanding of prudence from everlasting. The word of God most high is the fountain of wisdom, and her ways, talking about wisdom, are everlasting commandments. So the commandments of the Most High God, our heritage, according to Sirach 17 and 11, that's the fountain of wisdom. That is wisdom. The law of which the Israelites go by, that's wisdom, period. All of these other gods we're starting to learn, right? And I hope that we're not coming off redundant, but according to all of the major captivities up until this one, we're starting to see that their foundations and what they call their ways, and which we used to partake in and drinking of a broken cistern, it's all imitations of our ways, our laws, our law, statutes, and commandments. Verse 6, to whom hath the root of wisdom been revealed? Or who hath known her wise counsel? Unto whom hath the knowledge of wisdom been made manifest? And who hath understood her great experience? There is one wise and greatly to be feared, the Lord sitting upon his throne. So we understand that our Lord, all right, is the fountain of wisdom, and his ways and his enforcements and the ways we're supposed to live. That's wisdom. You understand? And we also see that it's a polytheistic religion, right? let's see what the let's see what the scriptures say about that, right? It says in the book of First Timothy chapter 2 and verse 5, it says, "For there is one God and one mediator between God and men, the man Hamashiach Yahushua." So there's one God and there's one mediator, all right, who serves as what? The one that gives us an example, the one that is the right hand and the user, the primary user of the Most High God. You understand what I'm saying? So you have God, and then you have a controller, which is Christ. And that serves as the mediator. You understand? So that's how the wisdom of the Lord is established. Not all of these different gods serving all of these different principles. You understand? James chapter 1 and verse 5 says, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God that giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him." So the Most High God is who we go to for wisdom, not Ahura Mazda, not what you see right here, the one of a destructive spirit, anger, Manu, like none of these Iranian gods, lowercase g, are our sources of wisdom. But our people trusted in these gods. And the Most High God is one to say what? Hey, you want to trust in them gods? I'm going to make you serve them. You understand? You want to throw up in your plate, I'm going to make you eat it. That's the Most High God and the way he punishes us. We trusted in these gods, and this is what led us to our destruction. You understand? Get I'm gonna get this one precept to get you to understand what our next major captivity is, and it's the Greek Empire. Okay, the next one is the Greek Empire. We're gonna go to First Maccabees chapter 1. I'm gonna start at verse 10, King, and then I'm gonna yield the floor again. First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 10 says, "And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Ephanes, son of Antiochus the king, Phineas, Salaki, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. And those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we are departed from them, we have had such sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who had gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief." Right? So this is the Greek captivity following, right, under King Antiochus. Just to jot that down and to give you a heads up on the next one. All right, I yield there, King. You got it.
Con, hey, go into that one a little bit more, if you don't mind.
Greek
captivity.
Reading down on it. Want me to read down on it?
Ken.
All right, picking up. Right, we're gonna go to what was that? Where I left off at? That was verse 15. I'm gonna get it in a pocket. I had it written down on my notes here. It's a lot. First Mac, and it's gonna be one. All right, First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 16. Antiochus attacks Egypt. Right, verse 16 says, "Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion over 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. So we seeing that he took it with blood. We starting to see, look, that common thing with all of these heathens, man, they like to take with blood. You understand? None of them earning nothing. They like to judge. We call ourselves judge kings and all of that stuff there. We like to steal and take and all that stuff. No, we get that spirit from the heathen, man. Heathen did that. He's the big judge king, right? Verse 20, Antiochus plunders the temple in Jerusalem. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude and entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof. Just like in the last captivity. You see how history is repeating itself like the brother was bringing out? You see how all of these heathens and all of these different empires, they do the same thing over and over again. Verse 22, and the table of the showbread and the pouring vessels and the vials and the censers of gold and the field and the crowns and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. Right? Did you have a particular point you wanted to bring out, King?
Nah, King, you can stop it right there. Hey, it's the same thing. Like the brother brought out. The Lord likens his judgment into a ring, right? Which means, again, the same thing as Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9, right? That which was done shall be done, right? There's no new thing under the sun, right? We see here that Antiochus, however you pronounce that, right? He started going after another country, basically, with his whole military. We see the same devil doing the same thing right now, right? And we always look at it and we say, hey, well, this war is abroad, ain't got nothing to do with us, yada yada yada. And that's a mindset that you see a lot of Jakes take on that, right? Whenever things were going on with Ukraine and Russia, right? Or recently the Israelis and Palestinians, right? We like to throw our hands up and say, hey, they got some stuff going on over there, yada, yada, yada. They ain't got nothing to do with us. But what we fail to realize is what? That same devil is going to bring that war to our doorstep. We fail to realize that, right? Because the scriptures don't say that Esau has a perpetual hatred for them. But it does say he has a perpetual hatred for you, right? Let's get that real quick. It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 35. And verse, we start at verse 3 for context, right? Start at verse 2 for context. It says, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Most High. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by force of the sword in the time of their calamity, and the time that their iniquity had an end, right? These are the times that we're in right now, right? We're in our calamity, surely, right? You see us, like we brought out earlier, we're the homeless out there that they're going to come after, right? We are the ones that are at the bottom of society, right? And at the same time, what Ezekiel 37 is going on. A valley of dry bones is being stirred up, and flesh is being added to it, right? And that spirit is being added to it, right? And a lot of our people are waking up, and we're returning to our power, right? Through repentance and keeping his law. The devil, this enemy sees that. These enemies see that, right? So all of these wars that you see happening abroad, you will be foolish to think that it's not going to come right to your doorstep. Well, let's prove it, right? I ain't got to do no talking. Let's bring that article back up. Strengthening and unleashing America's law enforcement, right? This is section number 4. It says using national Wait, Salaki. Ready to see that? Says using national security assets for law and order within 90 days of the date of this order. Again, this was April 28th of this year, so that would be what, July 28th. So that means right now we're in August, the end of August, we're in effect, right? It says the Attorney General and the Secretary of Defense, in consultation with the Secretary of Homeland Security and the heads of agencies as appropriate, shall increase the provision of excess military and national security assets in local jurisdictions to assist state and local law enforcement. What does that mean? Well, we see it right now. Trump is literally calling the National Guard on cities in America. It started with DC. He's talking about going to Chicago next. It said that he has 19 states planned right now that he wants to go to. And this damn devil is so prideful that he's actually going personally with the National Guard, right? Again, there's no new thing under the sun, right? When you look at what Antiochus did, what he did to Egypt, even if you can't picture it, right? Think about all of these old movies that you like to watch, like the 300, right? Troy, right? All of these movies that set up in that time when you look at these military inquisitions, right, of these ancient people, right? The king was always right there with the army on his little chariot. We are literally seeing the same thing happening right now. But again, this war is coming right to your doorstep, Jake. B, it says within 90 days of the date of this order, again, meaning its effect now, the Secretary of Defense, in coordination with the Attorney General, shall determine how military and national security assets, training, non-lethal capabilities, and personnel can most effectively be utilized to prevent crime, right? They're basically telling you they're going to use the military on you to prevent crime. And again, Donald Trump told you who the criminals were. Section number 5, it says holding state and local officials accountable, right? Because one of the things Jake loved to say, hey, y'all need to get out there and vote. These local elections are the most important ones, right? When you set these local officials in office, that's how you make change, right? You know how your old ass Jakes talk. If you vote for a congressman, that's going to do something for you. You know how they talk. Well, we're about to see here right now what that don't really mean a damn thing when it comes to what this devil wants to do, right? It says the attorney general shall pursue all necessary legal remedies and enforcement measures to enforce the rights of Americans impacted by crime. Again, that's talking about them. It says, and shall prioritize prosecution of any applicable violations of federal criminal law with respect to state and local jurisdictions whose officials willfully and unlawfully direct the obstruction of criminal law, including by directly and unlawfully prohibiting law enforcement officers from carrying out duties necessary for public safety and law enforcement, or unlawfully engage in discrimination or civil rights violations under the guise of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that restrict law enforcement activity or endanger citizens. What is he telling you? Right? The same thing he was saying at the beginning. Hey, ain't gonna be no protests. The cops can come and if they think you suspicious and just shoot you, hey, he's doing his job. You can't do nothing back to him. If you try to do something back to him, that's obstruction of justice. Now you're going to jail. You can't protest. If you protest, that's obstruction of justice. Now you're going to jail. You can't say, hey, what that cop did was racially motivated and it was wrong. The moment you do that, that's obstruction of justice, and you're going to jail. Section 6, use of Homeland Security task forces. The Attorney General and Secretary of Homeland Security shall utilize the Homeland Security Task Force formed in accordance with Executive Order 14159 of January 20th, 2025, protecting the American people against invasion to coordinate and advance the objectives of this order. Right? So it basically telling you this is going to happen. There's nothing that any of us can do about it. I saw a video the other day. I was talking about how a Supreme Court ruled against the tariffs that Donald Trump was putting on these other countries, right? But then at that same breath said that they're not going to do nothing about it. So what? You telling him that is wrong, but you're not going to enforce that? What does that tell you about where you're living? Well, the same thing that the Most High told you, right? This is our captivity, and we need not trust in oppression. But that's what our people refuse to see these things. Our people still think it's a way to be kumbaya with the heathen. It's not. It's not. And all of the other heathens that aren't Edomites that you think are going to have your back when all of this stuff really hits the fan, what's the Lord tell you? Real quick, I'm going to get this and I'm going to pass it, Ken. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 13. Start at verse 13, right? It says, therefore, I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place, in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. And it shall be as the chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land, right? All these other heathens, once they see Esau coming down on us, they're going to turn away and act like they don't see it, and they're going to go back to their own people, right? All of these heathens that you're trusting in, right? They don't care about you. And with that, I yield.
So that puts us over an hour. I don't want to be redundant. We see time and time again historically how, throughout the major captivities, we see how our people trusted in oppression. We see how our people trusted in, right, the kingdom of which we served, and the Most High God made us serve those kingdoms because of that, because we put things before the Most High God. And we're seeing it today, right? We're seeing it today. Lord willing, somebody was edified in regards of part 1 and part 2, right? Following, the Greek captivity, you had the Roman captivity. And I'm going to leave you with a couple precepts, man, and I'll go ahead and shut it down, right? Let's go to the book of Jeremiah. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 5. It says, thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Lord. For he shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land and not inhabited. Blessed the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope the Lord is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. So we will be prosperous every time we trust in the Lord and make him our shield and our buckler. And every time we depart it, we're accursed and we will be made desolate. It's been time and time again that this has happened throughout history. And Lord willing that our people understand and come back to trusting in the Lord and not trusting in our enemies, the oppression and the kingdoms of our enemies, the orders, right, and the enforced laws of our enemies, but rather fear and trust in the Lord and his enforcements. All right. Any closing points, King?
Let me see. No, yeah, we can close it there, King.
Come. Lord willing, somebody was edified and will be edified in the coming days on the replay or for as long as this video is posted. We love you, Israel. And with that, we say shalom.
Shalom, Israel.